Broadcasting live from Shibuya, Tokyo, this is your host, Aaron Randall. Welcome to American Hot Topics. Today we're going to talk about various and new items that are hot and trending in America, things that are most commonly unknown to Japanese. Today's program is brought to you by Kotobanku.
この番組は某国立大学で英語を教えているアーロンと英語学習中のジュンがお送りいたします。
This week we're going to talk about earthquakes and shale gas. Hello everyone and thank you for joining us on another episode of American Hot Topics. I'm here with June. So we have had a major string of earthquakes strike the island of Kyushu this week, especially in the prefecture of Kumamoto.There have been some reports of death and many people have been misplaced. There is irreversible damage and rescue operations and personnel are currently rushing to save those who have been trapped or injured by this disaster.
そうですね、今この収録をしているのが4月17日日曜日の14時過ぎなんですけれども、FNN によると避難している人は最大で21万人余りに上るということで、熊本で働いているうちのエンジニアのご親族も体育館で避難生活してらっしゃるって聞いても、
You know, I came to Japan after the big earthquake of 2011, and even then I was really shocked at how many earthquakes there are in Japan.
フロリダはあんまり地震ないんでしたっけ？
Right, there are actually no earthquakes in Florida, but we do have hurricanes every summer.
地震がなくても地球にいる以上やっぱり自然災害から逃れがたいんですかね。
Right. I was actually born in Portland, Oregon though, which is home to volcanoes and earthquakes. I grew up next to Mount St. Helens, and I was reminded constantly of the eruption that occurred there in 1980.So I actually have an alert that comes to my phone whenever an earthquake hits anywhere in Japan. And it's been going off almost every 30 minutes. So I could only imagine if a giant earthquake were close to Tokyo and we had, hundreds of aftershocks, there's no way I'd be able to sleep.
そろそろ東京も危ないから本当に防災グッズ買っといた方がいいですよ。
Yeah, get some water,
アーロンさん特に海岸沿いに住んでますからね。
Right, towards the bay. So with that, earthquakes are very scary.And not in Florida, but in a lot of places in America, there's been an increase of earthquakes recently. Or should I say an increase of man-made earthquakes.
マンメイドって人為的なって意味ですよね。
Right.
地震作れるようになっちゃったんですか、人間は。
Yes, exactly. Made by humans. Now, to talk about this, we have to talk about fracking. So, fracking in the United States has been a controversial topic for some time now.Fracking refers to the process of injecting liquid at high pressure into subterranean rocks, boreholes, so as to force open existing fissures and extract oil or gas. So it's basically a way of extracting oil from deep within the earth.
シェールガスの話ですね。
Right.
フラッキングこと水圧破砕法は地下の岩石に超高圧の水を注入して亀裂を生じさせる手法でシェールガス、シェールオイルの採取に用いられている。化学物質による地下水の汚染、大量の水使用による地域の水不足の可能性、排水の地下圧入による地震発生の危険性といった問題点が指摘されている。
In a recent National Geographic article titled New Map Shows Rise in Human-Caused Earthquake Risk, the USGS, United States Geological Survey, released a map which is the first to include quake risks related to human activity, largely tied to the fracking boom in the central states.
アメリカのジオロジカルサーベイ地質調査所みたいなところですね。そこが発表した最新の地震危険度予測マップに初めて人為的な地震の予測が含まれた。
Correct. The USGS decided to include induced seismicity in the new map because of a well-documented and sharp increase in the number of severity of human-made earthquakes in the central and eastern US starting in 2009, largely tied to the energy industry.
もう最悪じゃないですか。どれぐらいの規模の地震なんですか？
So, according to a US government website, since 2009, there's been over 2,310 magnitude 3 earthquakes.
はい。じゃあそんなに深刻でもないんですね、一応。
Right. About 3 magnitude or a little bit higher.
マグニチュードと震度は違って、その震度が人間が体感する強さで、一方マグニチュード3だと普通の人は本当にあんまり気づかないくらいっぽいんですけど、怖いですよね。
Yeah.
それがそのシェールの採取によって起きていると。
So the oil industry recently boomed in Oklahoma and elsewhere due to advances in horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing, also known as fracking. a controversial practice that involves firing a slurry of water, sand, and chemicals into the ground to release trapped hydrocarbons. Along with the fracking fluids, the oil or gas that rises to the surface tends to come with copious amounts of brackish groundwater, which energy companies dispose of by re-injecting into the earth. In parts of Oklahoma, this wastewater injection has increased 5 to 10-fold. At the same time, earthquakes of magnitude 3.0 and greater spiked from fewer than 100 between 1970 and 2009 to almost 600 in 2014, and a whopping 907 in 2015.
1970年から2009年までの間に100件以下だった地震発生数が2014年の1年で600件近くに、2015年では907件にまで跳ね上がった。もうすぐやめた方がいいんじゃないですか。
Yeah, it's a huge increase, right? Also in the article it says, something is going right in Ohio, which shows that regulatory changes like reducing injections can mitigate the potential quake hazards.
もうだから完全にこいつのせいってことですよね、地震は。
That's believed to be so, right? It's a high correlation. So with this, the number of people opposing fracking are increasing. In 2015, 40% of Americans opposed fracking. And in 2016, it grew to 51%, according to Gallup.com. So there are many arguments against fracking. However, there are many arguments for fracking. Let's look at some of the arguments for fracking. Lower cost. As fracking grows, natural gas prices are dropping. According to an article in 2013, 1 kilowatt of energy costs 6 yen for shale gas.
1キロワットの電力を作るのにシェールガスが6円。
10 yen for crude oil.
石油だと10円かかるんですね。
20 yen for wind power.
風力発電だと20円。
And 30 yen for solar energy.
ああ、そうですか。もうじゃあやっぱ全然安いってことですよね。
Right. So as we can see, the price of shale gas trumps the competition.
どういう意味ですか？
It means it beats the competition. It wins.
まあ最近石油の価格が下がっててあれですけど、2013年の記事ではそう書いてあると。
Yes, yes. Also, energy independence. Fracking in the United States will free the U.S. from crude oil dependency from countries like Russia and other Middle Eastern countries.
エネルギー自給的な観点ですね。
Also, economic growth. As a result of the fracking boom, the U.S. has already surpassed Saudi Arabia in net energy production. Another big one is the reduction of climate change. The Obama administration believes that increased shale gas development will help reduce greenhouse gas emissions. In 2012, U.S. carbon dioxide emissions dropped to a 20-year low. Human and public health will both benefit from shale gas displacing coal burning.
シェールガスの CO2 排出量は石炭に対して 40%、石油に対して 15% も少ないそうなんですね。ただなんか天然ガス利用の過程でメタンが漏れ出すんで、その温暖化対策に関して過大な評価はできないみたいなんですけどね。
So out of all these pros, I think the one that Americans can relate to the most is that our shrinking reliance on foreign oil and natural gas means the US is less prone to insert itself into global conflicts.
国際関係の秩序を変えるぐらいそのアメリカのエネルギー自給っていうのはインパクトがあることなんで、そんなちょっとした地震ぐらいでガタガタ言ってんじゃねえよみたいなっていうことなんですかね。
Yeah, I mean, it's still split 50-50, right? You still have 50% of Americans, against this whole fracking thing. But it seems like a small price to pay to get out of these wars that we're in the Middle East and other countries.
Small price to pay. 地震なんて安いもんだと。
Yes. So if we're going to talk about fracking, we have to talk about the shale gas boom in America. And what is shale gas? Well, shale gas is a natural gas that is found trapped within shale formations. So basically in the form of a rock containing minerals.
ガスの品質は従来と同じ天然ガスなんですよね。でも従来の LNG より割安っていう。
So according to Google, the shale revolution has stimulated tremendous production of oil and natural gas in the United States. The revolution is the product of advances in oil and natural gas production technology, notably a new combination of horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing. So, shale gas has existed on the Earth for a long time, but we were not able to extract it efficiently until recently.
まあだからカニみたいな、カニの足みたいなことですよね。
What do you mean exactly?
僕はカニ好きなんですけど、味はね。でも自分で食べるの辛くないですか？
I know. In America, the crab is given to us whole. So we have to actually use a hammer to break up the crab legs.
ハンマー使うの？
Yes, to break up the crab legs and then we pull out the meat with our fingers.
日本だともうちょっと足切ったり、ハサミ入れてくれたりするんですけど、それでもカニのその指の先っちょ的なところ、特にズワイガニみたいな細いやつになるとそこから身を取り出すのがほんと辛くて、もう味とその手間を考えると別にいいかなって気持ちになるんですよね。で、そのシェールガスは要はその今まで手つかずだったカニのその小指の肉っていうか身がその技術によってすげえローコストで取り出せるみたいな、それによってカニクリームコロッケの価格が下がる的なことですよね。
Well, maybe that's the case, but this crab leg example, I don't know if it's really the best one, but
で、アメリカにすげえ実はカニがいっぱいいたみたいな。
And as it turns out, there was a huge amount of crabs in America.
そう。
Right. So let's take a look at the actual amount of shale gas reserves in America, not crabs, right? So according to data from 2013, the United States Department of Energy states the countries with the largest amounts of shale gas reserves are 1. China, 2. Argentina, 3. Algeria, and 4. The United States.
もう日本には全然ないみたいですからね。羨ましいですよね。やっぱ中国とアメリカか。
With advancements in technology and the further discoveries of new shale gas, the amount of recoverable shale gas keeps increasing. So there is still so much shale gas in America that we don't know about.
アメリカのどの辺にガス田があるんですか？
So the short answer is Texas. 63% of shale gas production comes from Texas. As a matter of fact, the top 3 fields are found all in Texas. Number 4, Louisiana, and number 5, Oklahoma.
さっきのナショジオの。
Right.
ってことはここら辺が地震が多発する可能性があるってことですよね。
Absolutely.
行きたくない。
Yeah. So now we have a situation where America has a lot of gas, that of which is being extracted in various places. To this effect, the use of coal has been decreasing, while natural gas is sharply increasing in America over the last 20 years. So, looking at a graph from the U.S. Energy Information Administration, the actual decrease of coal and increase of natural gas are intersecting this year.
今年
Yes.
2016年にアメリカにおける天然ガスの発電量が史上初めて石炭火力を上回ることになる見込みです。
So, the U.S. government's Energy Information Administration predicts that by 2035, 46% of the United States' natural gas supply will come from shale gas.
で、アメリカは今年2016年の2月から天然ガスの輸出も始めたみたいなんですね。
Also from this February.
2月末に歴史的な第1号の米国産 LNG 輸出を手掛けたのは、米シェールガス大手のシェニエールエナジー、ゴールドマンサックスによると2019年には米国の LNG 輸出量は2550万トンとなり、世界シェア3位となる見込みだ。
Oh, wow.
これから5年で5倍になるってことですね。
So let's talk about now the impact this has had on the rest of the world. So before the shale gas boom, the United States mainly imported natural gas from Qatar. Now that gas is flowing towards Europe. With America gaining energy independence and Europe moving towards Qatar for their oil, Russia is running out of buyers for their natural gas. So Russia is now moving to sell their gas to Japan and Korea. However, Japan will start importing gas from America. With this, it can be said that production of gas in Russia and the Middle East will fall sharply. So this shale gas boom in the States has had a large effect on world trade. And America is going to become a major player as they're now going to start exporting to all these different countries, right?
はい、だからこう世界のパワーバランスにも影響することなんで、アメリカでは地震があろうがあるまいがみたいな感じなんですね。
Yeah.
で、逆に言うとロシアや産油国にとっては商売敵が増えて嫌ですよね。
Right. That's exactly what's happening. So, according to Fortune.com, about a third of the world's publicly traded oil companies are at high risk of going bankrupt this year. The threat these companies face is a result of crude prices hovering near 10-year lows. Chesapeake Energy Corporation, one of the U.S.'s biggest shale gas producers, was forced to issue a statement denying it was planning to file for Chapter 11 protection earlier this year. That's a bankruptcy. Saudi Arabia and Russia are the world's 2 largest oil producers, and both countries pumped record amounts of oil last year in an effort to defend global market share.
サウジアラビアとかロシアとかがもうガスとかオイルをもうすごい 低価格にして、
Mm.
アメリカのシェールガス企業を潰すぐらいの勢いで
Right,
値段を
right.
下げて流してるってことですよね。
Absolutely. Saudi Arabia and Russia are trying to get rid of these new shale gas companies coming out of America, right? They don't want this competition.
もう仁義なき戦いですよね。
And because of these price wars, Americans have actually been enjoying really, really low prices at the pumps, right?
というわけで世界的に熱いシェールガスの話なんですけど、日本への影響も当然あっていくつか紹介します。日経新聞4月11日、原発に頼れぬ関西電力、東京ガスと燃料発電所運営で提携。脱原発みたいな流れがある中、原発に頼らないガスで発電みたいな方向での協業がスタートしていると。シェールガスのおかげで脱原発できるかもしれないってことですよね。で、その前の日の4月10日、これも日経新聞です。IHI、アメリカで LNG プラント1000億円で受注。要は日本ではそのシェールガスのビジネス直接はできないんですけど、アメリカのシェールガス関連ビジネスをお手伝いすることによって日本企業が儲けられると。ということで日本もアメリカからそのシェールガスに関して、直接的間接的に恩恵を受けるって話ですけど、そうするとですよ、アメリカの地震に日本人が寄与しちゃってるって話でもありますよね。
Right, right, right.
地震大国なのに皮肉なことになってますね。だからシェール関連で地震の他にも何か問題あったらすごい嫌なんですけど、他に何か問題って起こってるんですか？
Absolutely. So there are many other problems with shale gas. So other problems with shale gas and fracking. First, we have contamination of groundwater. So if done by idiots, fracking can pollute aquifers, water supplies underground.
排水処理とかをちゃんとしないと水質汚染が問題になるんですね。
Correct. Also, it can cause exposure to toxic chemicals. The chemicals used when fracking have been proven and tested to be toxic and can harm the surrounding environment. And finally, one of the most dangerous is blowouts due to gas explosion. Actually, back in 2013, an explosion over a natural gas well in West Virginia injured at least 5 people and prompted state and federal investigations. So because of these dangers, some states have banned fracking, such as Vermont in 2012 and New York in 2014. The Maryland legislature has also approved a bill to ban fracking in the state for the next 2 years.
州ごとに禁止とかもしてるんですね。
Absolutely.
で続きましてミニコーナー今日の英単語。アルさん、これが本日のリストになります。
Alright, so here is this week's word list. Subterranean refers to under the earth's surface. Boreholes, a deep, narrow hole made in the ground, especially to locate water or oil. Fissures, a long, narrow opening or line of breakage made by cracking or splitting, especially in rock or earth. Seismicity, the frequency of earthquakes in a region. Hydraulic, relating to a liquid moving in a confined space under pressure. Hydrocarbons, a compound of hydrogen and carbon, commonly natural gases. Copious, a large supply or quantity. Brackish, slightly salty, as in river estuaries. Mitigate, make something bad, less severe, serious, or painful. Surpass, be better than. Prone, likely or liable to suffer from. Aquifers, a body of permeable rock which can contain or transmit groundwater.
これ大統領選的にはどうなんですか？
Well, actually, the only candidate who is openly opposing fracking and shale gas is Bernie Sanders.
さすがサンダースさん、攻めますね。
Right, yeah. Interestingly enough, he also opposes nuclear energy. Yeah,
それトレードオフなんじゃないかっていうね。本コーナーでご紹介した画像や動画は番組ホームページ www.ameho.tokyo のリンクよりご確認いただけます。面白コンテンツはリスナーの皆様からも募集中。番組のお問い合わせページよりどしどしお送りください。
Thank you for joining us this week on American Hot Topics. The music in this program was brought to you by Mateen Jahanmuri and Aaron Randall.